Hello again, this is Cliff McWilliams with Corporatist Nation because that's all we got. Well, we're watching as trillions are being spent on economic stimulus in this COVID-19 crisis. And quite frankly, how might our tax dollars being lent far into the future at this point, trillions of dollars, how might we infuse cash flow into a consumption economy? Well, I've talked to some people less educated than I am, and I'm coming to an agreement with these people have some good ideas, which will never be implemented by the corporatists in charge of our government. But actually, if you really wanted to stimulate the economy and change how America operates, then we can do one thing, and that's put dollars in the hands of every single American. And all Americans are deserving of receiving stimulus, given that they had no part in what's going on or what's gone on before. Can we talk about Obama? Obama with the faux health care reform, which was really health insurance reform. Here it is right here. Here's the sign. There it is. There it is. That is not healthcare reform. He's locking it up for the insurance companies. Yeah, Obama had a lot of opportunities, which he was fearful because of the pressure from Wall Street. When he infused all those billions into the Wall Street economy, a mere accounting function could have paid off every mortgage in America, and it would have been a boom to the economy. Wouldn't it? Yes, it would have. If everybody's mortgage was paid off, everybody starting fresh, everybody owning their home that had a mortgage, and indeed we could have done the same thing that I'm sort of offering here now, of putting money in the hands of all Americans to restart the economy. Like now Wall Street's on, I don't know, in my lifetime, at least the third round of being refurbished with money from DC. So how could we do this? Well, a friend of mine suggested, I have an MBA. He's got a 2-year associate's degree in what I don't know, but he's very involved politically. And after looking at it just for a minute, and obviously this is not perfect in that, you'd say, well, how do we encourage some people to work that we need to work when all of a sudden we put a lot of money in their pocket? Well, that's another problem altogether. But the fact of the matter is, every American citizen, even those living in a box under a bridge, should be somehow given, and this would be so cheap, $1 million. Now, I would say one way to do this in a fashion that is most efficient, effective, and helpful to all Americans at merely the cost of 3 or 4 F-35s. Or an F-35 costs $89.2 million today. The operating costs on said F-35 over its 8,000 flight hour lifetime, $352 million. So for those, acquisition costs, would cover, so we have 337 million Americans. $337 million. That's peanuts, right? That's actually not even, now you got to remember that 352 million is not in today's dollars. It's in, dollars outlaid. I don't know what the life of one of these things probably is. Maybe it's going to be around for 10 years for total cost, operating cost, maintenance, everything, fuel, $352 million. What could that do? If every American had, say you paid them $1 million over 3 years on a quarterly basis, $83,333. Over a 4-year span, every American, $62,500 a quarter. You think some people might be paying their mortgages off? There might be a new round of consumerism. Might have to do some reorganization around some certain jobs to ensure that some jobs were able to be done, because some people might choose not to do certain jobs anymore. Some people might go into positions that they merely like to do rather than have to do. But I think that is a very cost-effective idea. $1 million over a 3 or 4 year period on a quarterly basis. I think that, of course, is so cheap. It's such peanuts compared to the money that's being thrown at Wall Street, etc. So, $337 million. $1 million in every pot. $1 million in every pot. Beats a chicken, doesn't it? So, what could that do for the American economy? But of course the people that oppose it would say, well, we're giving money to people that don't deserve it. They didn't earn it. That's what kind of a right-wing friend of mine said, they didn't earn it. Well, a lot of people earn their way in different ways. The guy who's president, CEO of a major corporation, does he work harder than a guy who's digging ditches? I don't think so. The guy that's digging ditches might argue against that. And some of us have had the opportunity for higher education. I, for one, have. But I had to work for my 2 master's degrees and my bachelor's degree. And I only got the bachelor's degree because my father died on the day I started college. And there was a Social Security program in place whereby I got a $1,200 check sent to me twice a year, which I promptly signed over to my mother, who paid my tuition at a private university. So I got a 4-year bachelor's degree strictly because of that. Because you know what? I wouldn't have been able to come up with that $1,200 back in 1974, 75, 76, 77, 78. Wouldn't have happened. What would I be doing? And would I have ever gotten my couple of master's degrees and so on and so forth? Been a healthcare professional and entrepreneur and so on. So this is an idea that I think deserves to be considered, and really it needs to be thought of from the standpoint of why not? Let's hear your arguments against $1 million in every pot in quarterly payments over 3 or 4 years, even 5 years, right? Let's hear the arguments. I thank you for listening. Our corrupt political system is not getting us anywhere, right? I mean, the exit polling tells the tale. I'm not voting. I'm done with the Democratic Party, except for the fact that I'm going to criticize the hell out of it going forward, and especially Joe Biden and whatever other corporatist clown they put up in his place when he finally craps out with some, really massive faux pas healthcare issue, whatever it's going to be. Just to point out, I ran for Congress a couple of times, and I got the offer. Cliff, if you're willing to work with, play ball with the pharmaceutical industry, we'll get you all the contributions you need. That's all I could go on for hours about that, but that is how our government operates. Both sides. You notice we don't hear a lot of talk about tax policy. Always social stuff. Democrats this, Republicans that. Always social stuff. And the funny thing is, Donald Trump, he's more Medicare for all than the Democrats are. It's laughable. The Democratic Party has lost its way, needs to be cut off at the knees. And so let's consider that $1 million in every pot. I'm all in. How about you? I want to hear from you. Let's hear some comments. Thanks so much. Cliff McWilliams here for Corporatist Nation, because you know what? That is all we have. Thanks for listening.